Good evening, everybody. This is Half-Cocked Hilbilly. I'm coming from the heart of District 12, so let's have a little bit of fun.
"100 years after the bombshell dropped, humanity holds on by a thread. The landscape has been transformed into a wild and unforgiving hellscape. Civilization has been slowly rebuilding, but we have been set back to a time before mass machining. Petroleum supplies have dried up. The last batteries are only stories of our grandparents. There have been many battles fought at the saltpeter mines. Whoever controls those controls military power. Regardless, plants and animals have come back and allowed us to harvest what we need. Luckily, we've managed to make black powder to help harvest. The new beasts of Appalachia. The only problem, sometimes your powder gets wet.
And today we're going to be covering some of my favorite guns, muzzleloaders. Muzzleloaders don't get enough love in the gun community. Right now, with a lot of popular video games, all the tactical, practical rifles are all the rage. But there is something beautiful about the simplicity of a single-shot black powder rifle. This particular rifle is based off of a harken, which were made in the 1850s for big game hunters. We see military black powder weapons as early on as the 1500s, and they really have come a long way to some more inline muzzle loaders that really give rifle-like performance. Now, while I've owned these types of firearms for a while, I'm definitely not an expert, so bear with me today, but I just kind of want to play around with them a little bit. Now, one really cool thing about black powder is they're actually federally not considered a firearm, so you can just buy these online and they ship right to your front door. So it eliminates a lot of the hassle, the paperwork that you might have with a normal gun. With this being said, they are definitely really effective. Right now we're at a range of about 50 yards. That's not the maximum range of these rifles. I'm just using iron sights. And where I'm located here in Appalachia, you're really not going to shoot more than 100 yards. If you could find a sight longer than 100 yards, you're either on a farm or you're pretty lucky. With that being said, let's go ahead and start the loading process. Now, the reason why I called this video some of the best apocalypse weapons you could ever ask for is because the ignition system in these is incredibly simple. People were literally making these at home with basically hand tools and a few different chemical compounds. The ones I'm going to use today are a little bit more advanced. I don't have a flintlock, which literally has a rock connected to a hammer attached to a trigger. So if you have a creek with flint in it, that's your ignition system. But fast forward a little bit in history, we have what's called percussion caps. I will roll in some extra footage on screen so you can see. First, you're going to pour powder down the barrel. Then you're going to follow with a patch or a sabot, and then your ammunition. Then to prime it, this Hawken is percussion capped, as well as later on our 1851 Navy, which the percussion cap fits on a nipple here. The hammer strikes it, and it sends a spark down the barrel. Once that spark hits the powder, it's going to ignite and send the projectile downrange. This Thompson Center is definitely not the latest and greatest, but it does represent the more modern type of muzzle loader. You still load from the front, but now instead of a percussion cap, we have a block, and you put a shotgun primer, so you can see it right here. Once you're ready to fire, you close that and you cock your hammer back and you're ready to roll. With that being said, let's go ahead, let's shoot some groups. They're not going to be great, so bear with me. I am using iron sights. I'm not great with black powder. So like I said, we're just here to have fun, play around with them, and see what kind of guns we'd have at our disposal if we could literally get no other modern ammunition. So there's a few different moving parts to this muzzle loader here. What's really cool about these new inline ones, you can use loose powder, which is a little more consistent, it groups better, or if accuracy isn't what you're trying to squeeze the most out of, they do have these pellets. Now I'm using Pyrodex today. Pyrodex is definitely a good substitute for black powder. If you really are serious about this and you have the opportunity, I would grab some real Go-X black powder or 777. 777 is going to give you the cleanest burn. Pyrodex is pretty messy, but that's what I'm working with today. So that's kind of how we're going to roll. Like I said, I could use loose fitting powder, but right now for this muzzle loader, I'm just going to stick with the pellets. My Thompson Center Omega can hold up to 150 grains of powder. I'm just gonna stick with 100 grains. That's the standard deer load for a 50 caliber. All right, so next we're gonna take our 50 caliber bullet, which looks like this, like a pistol bullet, and it's gonna fit in this plastic sabot. Once we got that, we're gonna load it down the barrel. I take my starter, beat it down. And I'll take my ramrod. And then finally, I got my primer. Some safety things to keep in mind. Once you put that powder down the barrel, do not look down it. There could be some stray sparks in there that could ignite the powder. Also, you just want to treat it like a loaded gun. There aren't as many safety features in these. I'm not saying they're dangerous, but let's leave the range session with all your fingers, toes, eyes, and brain. Last but not least, we're going to drop our block. When we're ready to fire, we're going to place our percussion cap in. Last thing, there is a lot more powder, smoke, and sparks, so make sure you wear your eye protection. As I said earlier, we're firing a 240 grain Hornady XTP hollow point on top of 100 grains of powder. That's going to give us about 1,750 FPS, which is about 1,600 foot-pounds of energy. Max range on this is about 150 yards, and the ballistic coefficient is 0.165. Like I said earlier, these are mostly pistol bullets, so you're not going to get extreme range, but they do make long-range ammunition for muzzle loaders. So if you want to push past 150 yards, I would look into that. All right, guys, so that's, once again, I got really foggy glasses, iron sights at 50 yards. So you're probably looking at like a 4-inch group there. It's not stellar, but like I said, iron sights, it's definitely usable. Let's go ahead and check out the Hawken with some loose powder now. All right, y'all, next is my Hawken. This one's a little bit more of a traditional type, like I said earlier, so it's going to be a little bit different. This was a kit gun that I built, and as much fun as it would be to refinish a ramrod, I'm just going to leave this one on as decoration. All right, so first thing we're going to do, like earlier, is we're going to get our powder. This right here is a powder measure. Black powder is measured by volume, so just this simple rod with markings on it will be perfect. I'm going to stick with the same powder measure, 100 grains. You can go up or down, but that is a pretty standard loading, so we'll go with that. So I'm going to take my powder flask right here. I'm going to go ahead and fill up my measure. All right, you're going to close that spout. Once that's done, you're going to pour it through the top. All right, once that's done, you're going to take a patch, maybe put a little boar butter on it just to ease the fouling, which makes cleaning a heck of a lot easier. You're going to take your ball, and you're going to start ramming it down. Tamp that down. We're going to take our number 11 percussion cap, and we're going to do our best not to spill these in the woods. All right, next we're going to take our percussion cap, place our hammer on half cock, roll credits, and place it on the nipple. Like I just stated, we're shooting 230 grain 54 caliber round balls. Those are also going to be traveling about 1,750 feet per second, and you're going to be getting about 1,300 to 1,500 foot-pounds of energy. The BC is pretty low on these. It's about 0.075 or 0.085, and your max range is going to be about 100 yards. These round balls don't really have a ton of range, but because they are very soft, they are very lethal inside 100 yards. If you would like better performance on big game like bear or elk, I would suggest looking at maxi or mini balls. All right, y'all, so it looks here like we actually shot a better group than that first one. We got 1, 2, 3. We did shoot 4 rounds. I will say I did not pack the powder as tight as I should have on the second shot. So I have no idea where it went. It honestly could be anywhere. But like I said, we got 2 touch in here and 1 flyer, which is definitely my fault. So I'm not saying I could win any awards, but I'm pretty happy with that for crude iron sights and a sweaty day. Since we're talking about black powder, I'd be remiss if we weren't talking about the pistols. Black powder pistols are some of the coolest guns that you could buy. And really, they're not too expensive. Prices have gone up over the years, but overall, they're really good bang for your buck. And you're actually not shooting as much as you would with a modern centerfire handgun. It does take a few minutes to load the cylinder. Once you get good at it, obviously you speed it up, but just like the rifle, you're pre-measuring each powder, adding a bore butter or a wad, and then a ball or conical ball of ammunition on top, and then you're going to have to go behind each chamber with a percussion cap. Today we'll be shooting an 1851 Navy, chambered in 44 caliber. The 1851 Navy actually didn't exist in the past. The real 1851 Navy was in 36 caliber, while the 1860 Army was chambered in the 44 caliber. He said this works just fine, and it'd be a great sidearm if this is all you have. Other black powder pistols only hold one round, so this might not pack as much of a punch as a rifle, but kind of like 9mm or 380 pistols today, this would definitely do the job. And it definitely did the job in all the wars before cartridge revolvers. Let's see how effective it is against these soda cans. The ballistics on this 8-inch 1851 Navy are roughly equivalent to a modern 38 Special Plus P. It's firing a .452 caliber round ball on top of 25 grains of powder. That's giving me about 800 feet per second and 186 foot-pounds of energy. If I were to step this up to the maximum charge of 30 grains of powder, it's going to produce 860 feet per second and 230 foot-pounds of energy. If I were to actually need to use this in real life, I would definitely bring an extra cylinder to account for the unreliability of this firearm. I would also be using a conical type ball just like in my muzzleloaders. Those are going to give you much more consistent results, and it's going to give you more foot-pounds of energy out of the muzzle. Now, this is a really good example to show you. One of the problems with black powder is it's incredibly finicky, especially this 1851 design. It's really prone to getting jammed up with these caps. So if you can see here, this uses percussion caps as the ignition system. Once the hammer strikes it, they break, and there is a channel in this revolver to help strip them away. But I've been shooting it a little bit, so it's getting gummed up. So you're really going to get 3, maybe 4 good cylinders before you got to wipe it down. One thing I do love is that smoke coming out the front. Always leaves me smiling and satisfied.
That's what she said.
But in the end of the day, I prefer a modern 45 to the 1800s. All right, everyone. For grand finale, we're going to do a little barrel dumping in the trash. So I've increased my charge weight to 150 grains, maximum weight for this rifle. I have a feeling I know what's going to happen. Right now I'm shooting Hornady 240 grain XTP hollow points. Let's see what happens. Well, it looks like it worked. Let's go check it out. It smells amazing, and it seems that our soda bottle didn't make it. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the next rifle, our Halken. Let's see what that 54 cal can do. I've increased the charge to 120 grains. I have a feeling there's not going to be much left, so let's take a look here. Indeed, there's not much left. Well, guys, I had a ton of fun today shooting the stink guns. I really, truly do think that in a world where we didn't have any modern ammunition left and all we had was our own devices, I think we'd be okay. These rifles are great for hunting, target shooting, and just plain fun, if you don't mind a little cleaning. Stay tuned next time, guys. I got loads more coming your way. Please like and subscribe. It means a whole lot to me, and I'll see y'all real soon. Half-Cocked Hillbilly out. I should have wrote a script.